What's up guys, it's Rowan here from Artismart TV, and in today's video I'm going to be sitting down and chatting with Maria, who recently graduated from year 12 and was also one of our Pathfinder program alumni. So welcome Maria.
Thank you for having me here.
Now I guess just some easy questions to kick things off. What school did you go to during high school?
I went to Holy Spirit Catholic College in Lakemba.
Awesome. And you obviously just graduated your HSC. Congratulations, that must feel pretty good.
Yeah.
What subjects did you take during year 12?
I did Advanced English, Biochemistry, 3-unit maths, music and studies of religion.
So quite a range of subjects. Yeah. Now, you know, rewinding to the start of year 12, at the start of year 12, what degree were you hoping to get into or study when you finished high school?
I've always been quite interested in psychology, so I really wanted to study Bachelor of Psychology, like in honours. I think it was only through halfway the year that I started considering like business and a range of other things.
And sort of combining it. Yeah, so you've obviously got, received offers, you received an early entry, which is fantastic as well. What will you be studying at university? For
2021, I will be studying Bachelor of Business Administration and Psychology at Macquarie University.
Amazing, which in the end was essentially the course that you, at the start of the year, wanted to get into and then added onto it throughout the year. So congratulations. How did it feel when you got that confirmation that you were going to be able to study your goal course, essentially?
I think I just felt obviously really happy, felt satisfied because a lot of my friends, I feel like they struggled to work out what they wanted, but I felt just oddly calm and there wasn't much to worry about at that stage.
Awesome, that's great. Now, rewinding to the start of year 12, one of the things that you shared was that your number one challenge was maintaining balance and consistency. What in particular were you struggling with around balance and consistency at the time?
I think even previously in school, I've always noticed that there'll be a term that I'll just work really hard, but then towards at the end of the year, I always sort of my effort starts to dilute. So it always be like this and then it just slowly die out. So that was one thing that I find it hard to maintain, my academic performance, to maintain them at the same level. They tend to fluctuate a bit.
Okay, so you'd have a great term where you had all the energy and then you'd sort of fall off a cliff and then the next one, not so great. Yeah. And so that was a concern for you because with year 12, you wanted to just get more consistent results essentially?
Because heading off to year 12, I knew that was something I needed to work on in order to achieve my end goal. And even post high school, I wanted to have more control and more consistency in everything that I do. So yeah, that was quite a major challenge for me.
Awesome. And so then, look, I think that's a challenge that so many students struggle with. I want to dive in a little bit to understand how you solved it as a challenge, or at least certainly how you improved your consistency over the year, right? Because we can always continue to get better. What were some of the things, the strategies that you employed to help you become more consistent over the course of, year 12?
I think it's crucial to be self-aware of both your strengths and weaknesses. I think one of the strengths I identify for myself is that I can become quite enthusiastic when I come across something new, and I would just invest all my energy into it. But then I know that a weakness is over time. Because I just do everything in the beginning, over time I find it hard to maintain it because there either isn't as much left to do or I just don't have the same level of enthusiasm or energy.
Well, something new comes along and you get excited about that.
In order to maintain consistency, what I did was to kind of really identify what I wanted to do, but not let it overtake my normal regular schedule or overtake my normal hobbies I would do. I would make sure that I keep a really clear barrier between my personal life and my academic life and my work life, for example.
So it sounds like really part of consistency, reading between the lines, was you were prioritizing rather than sort of getting swept along throughout the year by things that you got enthusiastic and passionate about, which we all do. It sounds like what I'm hearing is that you were clear in identifying, well, for year 12, being an important year, these are the critical extracurricular things I'm going to maintain. And I'm going to maintain only these, right? You know, these are the critical work commitments that I'm going to maintain, so that way you didn't let yourself get distracted, it sounds like, by other things that came along. Is that right?
I think prioritizing sums it up pretty well. Like previously, I kind of realized that I didn't have a clear like definition between each areas of my life. So then when I kind of like separate everything in their own category, it made it a lot of easier to become consistent.
Okay, great. So step one for a student who's struggling with consistency, self-reflect, right, and work out, well, what's driving that lack of consistency. In your case, it was that enthusiasm and that lack of clarity on the different commitments and areas you had in your life. Second step, it sounds like, is prioritize. Okay, actually be really clear across the different parts of your life as to what it is that you're going to commit to throughout the year. What else did you do to get more consistent?
I think you should to add on to that, you should compromise but not like disregard completely, and find a true purpose, like a reason why you're doing what you do. Say for example, if I'm studying and I'm like, you know, at the end of the year we all have that energy boost, but then I want to become a good student or to have a consistent academic performance because it contributes to my end goal of receiving the 8 I want or the HSC mark that I want. So when I thought about it that way, it made it clearer that this is like a marathon, like a long-term goal. It's not a quick sprint. So having that realization makes me more like aware of how I should distribute my energy throughout the year.
It's a mindset shift, really, isn't it? From thinking it's okay to do like the boom and then the bust collapse, to realizing actually, you know what, there's a reason I need to find a way to stay more consistent here. How did you, just from an energy level, maintain the energy? Because, you know, it's a long year, right? Year 12 can feel like it can drag at some points. And I would imagine that you still got to the end of the term and felt tired. How did you deal with it? You know, what were you doing to keep your energy so high, so consistently over the year?
I think like outside of my academic or schoolwork, I always try to find something that I enjoy doing, or like I'll alternate in between, rather than just doing like schoolwork alone. I'll make sure that I'm looking after myself, or I'm engaging with physical activities that make me feel happy, and then that translate to my academic work. So for me, like finding a hobby, or I'm always kind of the person who try new things and like experimenting, and that kind of like give me moments to not think about my schoolwork alone, and I feel like that helps a lot in preventing like burnout or getting overwhelmed, and like ultimately helps a lot in maintaining consistency.
What I'm hearing, and it's so important, but it is a little counterintuitive, is actually weirdly taking on some extracurriculars, which is sort of strange because so much of the HSC is about trying to like prioritize and do less and focus more academically. But it sounds like actually it was those extracurricular hobbies and passions that gave you the energy to keep on pushing. Now, as part of this, you know, I know you were also working with your Pathfinder, you know, mentor and performance coach, Kathy. How did Kathy help you stay more consistent over the year?
Similarly, like all of these mindset changes, I feel like I've went a lot of the mindset change because of her. I guess it was quite obvious when we first talked that I was quite fixated on just my academic performance. And she made me realize how important it is to have other focus, like on my family, friends, and my personal health, as well as like my future career pathway that I'm interested in. When we have our sessions together in the beginning, she'll go through what I want to do with my family and friends and health to make sure that I remained like positive. She helped me find like a purpose and like enhance my identity that is distant from just like the schoolwork or the mark that I got.
What I'm hearing is it sounds like what she was doing was helping you get clarity on your goals, but more holistically in a way that would then better support your academic goals anyway. By ensuring that you were healthy, that you had a great support network, that you had career goals and purpose, and then how all of that would feed in over the course of the year to support your academic goals, which is great. Sometimes I think one of the things that I know that Kathy shared was that you struggled to get clear feedback from your teachers at school. How did Kathy help with that?
In regards to like more directly, she helps me how to ask for help and how to be more direct when I'm asking for help, that kind of thing. Because I guess one of the things were like, I didn't get clear feedback, but I was too scared to like clarify it further with my teachers. And she sort of like helped me to not like to break down that fear, because ultimately it will benefit me. Like that was one of the more direct situations, I guess. More indirectly, she'll help. She can give me her own feedback, and then she'll help me to how to find feedbacks that are outside of just my school or teachers, for example, and helps me to like be more proactive rather than just waiting for feedback.
And that's so important, because I know one of the things we talk about in Pathfinders is the idea of that feedback loop, right? The more that you get feedback, the better you become, right? And so it's so important to proactively engage and ask for feedback. And I think it's a great skill to be able to know how to ask for feedback. So that's awesome to hear. Now, I know Kathy also worked with you around sort of time management so that you could balance the different things you had going on in your life. What were some of the things Kathy helped you with in terms of, the strategies she recommended to manage your time more effectively?
I think she was actually like helped me, or she actually like introduced me to more like digital like calendars and scheduling. Like at first I've tried in the past, but I've always been quite skeptical of it because it didn't work out for me. But like after this year, like now I have like Google Calendar everywhere. That was really helpful. I think to enhance that, Kathy helped me to make more like SMART and goals. So like specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time specific. And for example, should be like, how many times do I want to engage in like my extracurricular a week? Like give us certain hours. How many times do I want to spend with family and friends, and make that non-negotiable, so that I don't have to like compromise on my personal life just to work on my academic life. And that helped significantly, because I feel like for me, sometimes I can get a bit off track and I'll just like pour all my like effort into one area of my life that I tend to forget the others. So like a lot of times Kathy helped me to get back on track with those sort of things.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there was some time management in being able to create this clear routine of when you would do certain things. Yeah. But then also what I'm hearing, which sounds really important, is she was helping you get balance across them. Because I know so often you've got 5, 6 subjects you need to take. There's always a couple of favourites, a couple of not so liked subjects, and it can be really easy to spend more time on the wrong things, or more time on things that you like, whether or not that's school, a favourite subject, or something entirely outside of school. So that's awesome to hear. Now, as part of the Pathfinder program, there were, we had a number of workshops and intensives throughout the year as well. What were some of the key learnings you had in the workshops and intensives throughout the year around studying smarter?
I think like studying smarter, but this is like Kathy also often discusses with me, is that it's important to study smarter and not harder, and just know what type of learner you are and know what study techniques work the best for you. And it's most of the time it's easier to start earlier. I think like one of the things that we talk often, and especially with all the other Pathfinders, is how we try to like get on top of our content like at least like a week-ish before. And so that when it's time to learn about that topic, we already like drafted questions to ask, and that helps, that like set a clearer study pathway, I guess. And I think that's smarter because you have like, you study more intensely, but with less time, it saves time.
So yeah, we're talking about lifting the intensity of study, really. What would you say over the course of the year was your favourite workshop that you attended?
I mean, I quite enjoy like the career Q&As because like at the beginning of the year, although I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but like I never really know what it's like to actually be, like for example, like working in that field. So career Q&As helped like sort of consolidate my understanding and make sure that I really wanted this, like after knowing all the good and the bad, rather than just the goods. In regards to like a workshop that I like, I think there was a workshop where we talked about like getting back on track or like bouncing back, and I think that was kind of perfect timing because at that moment where we had that workshop, I felt like I was getting slightly off track, and that like helped me regain my momentum, and just knowing, like just like creating self-awareness for me to get back on track, like despite the pressure, and knowing how to deal with that pressure.
Amazing. That bounce back definitely is timed for that exact purpose.
Because I feel like, to add on that, I feel like at the beginning of the year, most students will be told like just, manage your stress level and just not get stressed. But then like not a lot of people tend to talk about what you should do when you've reached like a somewhat stress level to get back on track. So I found that like quite valuable. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good insight. I think you're very right on that. What intensive did you enjoy the most?
Probably like the last one that we had, which was like the career intensive, especially the interviews, because for me, I'm worse. Like one of my, I feel like weaknesses is like impromptu and sort of like on the spot interview questions, and that intensive relating to career pathways and how to conduct interviews, how to answer interviews, made me more confident in those sort of situations and made me know how to prepare for it or what employers are looking for, because most of the time it can be ambiguous, but after the intensive, like I have a clearer idea of what to prepare for, and I don't feel as lost.
Awesome, that's good to hear. Now, I know you had, some ambitious academic goals, and I know a big part though was thinking about your career. Yeah. Right? I know that was something that Kathy spent a fair bit of time working with you as well. What were some of the things that you did as part of the program? So some thoughts, LinkedIn, personal project, that were designed to help you start putting that first foot forward for your career? So
like after being a part of Pathfinder, I like instantly created a LinkedIn at the beginning of this year, and through that I was able to like observe a lot. I connected with quite a number of like psychologists and neuropsychologists, for example.
And that was important because that's what you were wanting to pursue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like for a couple of them, I reached out, and it didn't have to be like more, it was quite informal, but it was just more like, what's the best like study pathway to get to where you are now, and like what is it like to work as a psychologist? And though like most people were really supportive and were really responsive, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, they were quite like elaborate, and I really loved it because I feel like it gave me a better idea. They'll say why they wanted to do it, and they'll say the good and the bad of their career, and I feel like because of that, I have a clearer idea of why I want to do what I want to do.
That's amazing. And how, did Kathy help you with your LinkedIn profile and giving you feedback on it? And how to reach out? Like, what support did Kathy give you there?
For this one, I feel like in the beginning I did kind of just like
You went Wild West and cowboy just did it yourself.
Yeah, But like throughout the years, she did like look at my LinkedIn like quite often, and she'll go through where I could be more specific or how to, I guess, market myself, how to present myself through my LinkedIn profile, and where I could like quantify and what sort of experience that I should list.
Because in many respects, it also acts as that digital resume, doesn't it? Yeah. Now, you also have been working on a personal project as part of the program. I'd love to hear, tell me a little bit more about it.
It's actually like we're planning to launch it like very soon, early this year. And like I've mentioned before briefly, it's a academic support network that is aimed at more disadvantaged students, especially those who may not have access to like those sort of external support otherwise, especially those from like low socioeconomic areas or people experiencing like learning barriers. Most of it is aimed at a primary level to Year 9 level, and we're trying to provide like online one-on-one sessions.
And what was the rationale, or what prompted you to try to start this project?
I think I've always like been an advocate of like education and like equality in education. For me, I was born overseas, so then when I first came to Australia, I feel like I struggled a little bit. I still had a lot of support from my parents and from my primary teachers at the time, but that kind of like inspired me to sort of replicate that support, but on a larger scale, to people who are also in the same situation. And for me, I feel like I've never like had much access to sort of tutoring like within my early years, and I wanted to create like like a platform for support that anyone can access to without feeling like restricted, like regardless of their capacity.
How did being part of the Pathfinder program help you stay motivated and minimize procrastination?
On a more informal level, but it was like one of the most effective way to stay motivated was just like talking to the other Pathfinders and sharing our experience. I think knowing that everyone kind of like struggled here and there, and they were very open about sharing the struggles, made it more motivating to kind of be like, I'm not in this alone, and then we all kind of help each other. Like for example, we actually like approaching HSC, we actually like I set up a couple of study sessions with a couple of people who we do the same topics, and we'll just keep each other accountable throughout that period prior to HSC. And that made studying a lot more fun, but also like very motivating, because then you start to look forward to studying. Another thing, like I've said, I think my mindset changed a lot since the beginning of the year, or like my previous years, in my approach to studying and to school, and like to my life in general, because I feel like I found like a greater purpose of why I'm doing this, and I looked at it for like a long-term goal rather than just like I didn't identify myself with the HSC mark anymore. Although like contradictorily, it is like what I aim for. But it's just how it works. I don't. The human mind is funny.
But it is true. I think, you know, it actually non-identifying makes it a healthier journey, and that then supports you doing better. Yeah.
I think like during like one of our really earlier workshops, where we go through like the posters and the yearly plan, one of the like quite small but like effective thing that I found was that how we went through our goals for this year, and also we break that goal down to like for each term. And I remember we had like a motto or a slogan kind of thing, and I think you mentioned, and a couple of other Pathfinders mentioned that they don't want any regrets this year. And I've never really thought about it for some reason, but then when I heard that, I was like, I don't want any regrets this year either. And that helped a lot, because throughout, that was my overall goal. And whatever I do, I just, like whenever I start doubting myself, I'll be like, would I regret it if I don't do this, or would I regret it if I do this? And if the answer is yes, then I'll make sure that I'll find ways to minimize or to like get rid of that sense of regret.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And I'm glad the personal motto was something that stuck. That's awesome to hear. One of the things that you were hoping and that you shared with us was that the program helped you build more of your confidence for networking. What were some of the key things that the program did to help you reach that point of having greater confidence for networking?
I think baby steps was just like simply creating a LinkedIn profile and knowing how to present yourself on there. That was like one of the biggest things, because I feel like I've networked or reached out, or at least tried to, with so many people than I've ever had in my whole entire life prior. And over time, it became easier, just like knowing how to reach out and I guess each time that what you're looking for, or just to form bonds, like you become more eager to like learn about the other person. So yeah, I feel like I became more proactive in that aspect and more confident in that aspect as well, because for most people, if I talk to them and I tell them that like it kind of become like a hobby in my spare time, and it sounds creepy to some people, but it helps a lot, because when my friends share their concerns with me, I kind of think that it's something that I've managed to solve myself through just networking and talking to people who have gone through what I want to do, like for example, who have had experience.
That's amazing. Couple of last questions and we'll wrap. What was your favourite part of the entire Pathfinder program?
That's hard. I was gonna say either like having a personal mentor, or being able to interact with like the other Pathfinders, and like to be able to interact with you and Daniel as well, and just like consolidating, especially like more so like the post high school topics, such as like the career pathways and things like that. I don't know, like it's the most helpful part for me. So then I also find it my favorite part, I guess, because they were pretty like engaging, and I was quite invested in knowing how to create different like career pathways and to seek for different opportunities myself. And I learned a lot more soft skills through that. And I love when we get like the impromptu questions, and then everyone was so creative with it. I can't do the same, but like I'm like, wow, I want to be like that.
That's awesome. And what would you say to other students who were thinking about joining the Pathfinder program?
I think it's definitely a really powerful tool that students definitely should make the most use of. Like, I feel like mentors are somewhat underestimated, and they can be so helpful in making sure that you stay on track, and in just helping you realize things that you haven't before. And I think it's just really good to interact with like other Pathfinders as well as the people who like run the Pathfinder program, because it's not like only what you can benefit from the program, but what you can benefit from just socializing. And for me, I feel like it certainly did help me become like a better communicator. Like even as I'm sitting right now, I feel more comfortable with conversing with you, like compared to our last like interview.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Like it's like the little changes, but it makes a big difference.
That's awesome. Now, final question. If you could take a time machine and go back to the start of year 12, what would you do differently?
If I could go back to like the very beginning of year 12, I'll make sure to learn like how to be forgiving and for myself, and how to be flexible as well and more adaptable, especially with the changes in 2020. I can be like quite ambitious. And like while most of the support that I received were really helpful and things like, and I've achieved a lot of things that I didn't know or that I wanted, I feel like there are certain bits that, like, just little details that if I can, I guess, sort of use it, like, say for example, the mistakes I've made, use it as you can only learn from those rather than using it as a reason to create more fears for myself. I think that happened a little bit more towards the halfway or towards the end, because, you know, like as trials approach and HSC approach, it got a lot scarier. So knowing how to like to turn your mistakes into something to grow from, or as something to motivate you even better. Yeah, I feel like I did that partially well, but you know, it could be enhanced. Yeah, I feel like, yeah. And actually, I heard something, this was after my HSC, but I feel like it would be a lot more powerful if I heard it like at the very beginning of HSC, was that you only win and learn, not win and lose. Because like when you fail, that's where you learn from. And yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Maria. That's great. That was a great piece of advice.